I've been using a Mac for almost 4 years and it's been interesting. From small annoyances with the software, like getting used to the fact that the window control buttons are on the left instead of being on the right like on Windows, or awesome things like getting to really daily drive Apple laptops for the first time and really appreciating how frankly awesome Apple hardware really is. Do you hear that? That's metal. Anyway, today we're going to review the Mac experience and see what's good and also what's bad, like gaming. Yeah, we'll get into that. Before we start, I think it's important to give you a bit of a background, and that's the fact that I've been a Windows user pretty much all my life. I started with Windows 98, moved to XP, then stayed with Windows 7 for the longest time, skipped Windows 8 because, come on, and eventually moved to Windows 10, and now I'm daily driving Windows 11. Quite a journey, I'm sure you'd agree. However, back when I joined Surfshark in around 2021, the company was kind enough to offer me a company laptop, either a Lenovo ThinkPad or a MacBook Air M1. I decided to go with a Mac to sort of step outside of my tech comfort zone a little bit and see what all the fuss is about in the Apple world that I've heard so much about. So I picked the MacBook Air and used it for a number of years. In fact, many of the shorts on our channel and many of the long videos were edited on this exact MacBook Air, which only had 8 gigs of RAM. Yeah, that was quite painful on some of the videos that we had to make. However, around a year ago, Surfshark was also kind enough to offer me this monster right here, the 16-inch MacBook Pro with an M3 Max processor and a mind-boggling 64 gigabytes of RAM. Wow, thanks Surfshark. After watching my videos, they probably thought I'm running like a Minecraft server or something. Well, thanks, but I'm not sure if this beast is 100% necessary for me, even though it does handle whatever you throw at it with ease in terms of productivity, such as video editing. But let's dive deeper into something that Apple does really, really well, and has been doing it for a long time, and that's hardware. Even looking at the MacBook Air, which I'll admit, it's not the cheapest laptop out there. However, you do get a lot for your money. To start, the all-amazing metal build gives you the feeling like you're handling a piece of really expensive tech. Like you touch this thing and it's the first thing that comes to your mind is like quality. Also, small touches like being able to open the laptop with just one hand is super really nice. Displays on the Apple's Air and Pro MacBooks are also great, coming with IPS panels and 120Hz refresh rate, though Air models still ship with only 60Hz screens, which isn't amazing, but I'll let that pass. But yeah, while IPS isn't OLED or anything, trust me, these displays look superb. Speaking of superb, or the opposite of that, you know how some laptop manufacturers put their laptop speakers on the bottom, which always results in crappy audio listening experience and pretty much forces you to use external audio gear like headphones or earbuds instead? People will try and cope by saying like, oh, sound bounces off the table or something, but don't listen to that nonsense. I really wish all laptop manufacturers followed Apple in this regard and put their speakers on the front so the sound is directed right at your ears. So yeah, the speakers on a Mac sound amazing, and probably one of the reasons why I watch so much YouTube on my MacBook Air when I first got it. Now, moving on to the keyboard, listen, it's a nice keyboard overall. It's wonderful actually. The keys have a bit of travel to them and feel great to type on, though it's not a mechanical keyboard feel. I think for a laptop, it is fairly good keyboard, all things considered. There is one big problem with the typing experience on at least the bigger 16-inch MacBook Pro, and that's the fact that the touchpad is always in the freaking way due to how huge it is. So what ends up happening is sometimes as I'm typing, my palm touches the touchpad, and from time to time I accidentally press on it and it registers a click or moves the cursor elsewhere. I mean, the touchpad itself is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but due to this issue, I basically always use an external keyboard with a mouse combo when using this Mac stationary, though this wasn't a problem on the smaller 13-inch MacBook Air. Back to the things I really like. The webcam, it's great. It's 1080p, super clear, along with the microphone quality. And here's a quick sound test and webcam test for those of you who are curious. One other really nice touch I like on this Mac is this fingerprint scanner in the corner, allowing you to really log in securely and quickly at any time. And last absolutely amazing thing that Apple has been nailing down for years is the battery life. Standby battery life on MacBooks has always been fantastic. And ever since Apple moved to using their own Silicon M processors, it's only improved from there. So yeah, these laptops are extremely battery efficient, and that's awesome. Lastly, let's talk about the pricing because, well, quite frankly, the pricing on this specific laptop is just crazy. But I mean, you expected this, right? This exact model goes for around $4,000, which is freaking insane if you ask me. Even more so considering the fact that these laptops are non-upgradable. No RAM swapping, no internal storage upgrading will ever be possible here. Worth mentioning the lack of repairability too. Like opening and servicing this laptop is, for a basic user is going to be simply impossible. But that's the hardware overall. Solid, minus the price, but how's the software experience? The macOS, especially coming from Windows. Well, for one, it's different. Not too much different, but at this point, it's the small things that really differentiate these operating systems nowadays. For starters, no start menu on a Mac. Here you got your dock and the launch pad where your apps are placed. This UI is definitely designed for a touchpad first, but it works well with a mouse as well. But forget the launchpad, since you can pin most of your used apps into the dock, which you can always find near the bottom of the screen. Now, macOS doesn't offer you a traditional start menu, like I said, just like Windows, and I didn't really miss it per se, as you can pin folders of apps and whatever into the dock, making it a fairly versatile piece of UI. There is one annoying thing though, if you have multiple monitors, the dock will sometimes move on itself from one screen to another, which is again kind of silly, and there is no setting to make it persistently stay on one display. One other thing that I kind of like was this top menu bar. It's kind of similar to the Windows taskbar, but in a way, it's actually better. On the right side, you'll find things like the clock, Bluetooth settings, network settings, battery options, keyboard language, and status icons of whichever apps you got running in the background. However, on the left side is where you'll see action menus for whichever app you're currently on. So for instance, when I got Surfshark app open, I'll be able to adjust Surfshark settings. To illustrate, I can go to the top bar now, go to help, and now I can access the contact support menu item in just a few clicks, compared to Windows where I'd have to go to the specific menu within the app itself and then go find that contact us button. Overall, it's probably subjective on which way of accessing and changing different app settings is better, but after a while I did find macOS's menu bar to be more consistent across many apps that I've used. It gives all apps a more unified user experience feel, if you know what I mean. The trackpad gestures overall also deserve a mention as they're super intuitive. And I don't know why I did that, but they're super intuitive. Whether you're switching virtual desktops and apps with the 3-finger gesture, or pinching into Zoom, or swiping up to check what apps you got running, like honestly, this makes working on this laptop without a mouse feel quite nice. You don't need this thing anymore. By the way, I love macOS's search. Command plus spacebar became my favorite shortcut on a Mac very, very quickly. Press it to bring up the spotlight search and it will find anything and everything for you. No silly web searches like on Windows 11 or anything like that. Just a simple search menu that looks for settings, files, folders, and if nothing is found, then you get web searches. Good stuff. It's so good that 4 years in, I almost never use the macOS's settings panel, as I just use search to find whichever settings I need to access. Just like how you might need to access a certain website, but you might get blocked from accessing it as it's not available in your country. Well, that's no longer an issue if you use Surfshark. With Surfshark VPN, you can connect to over 100 different VPN locations, but that's just the start. As with Surfshark, you'll also get blazing fast speeds without any interruptions. Look, I've been using Surfshark for a really long time now, and I love the many features that it has on offer, from its clean web tool, which can act like an ad blocker, and in addition gets rid of these cookie consent pop-ups, or alternative ID, which lets me create a whole new persona to use online to use for websites or services that I don't want to use my real data to sign up and use. Surfshark nowadays is a literal Swiss Army knife with the amount of online privacy and security tools that it offers. So consider getting Surfshark today and use the link below, or just simply use the code Academy to get 3 additional months. Now, back to the video. Windows 11 gets a lot of flack for a whole lot of things, but macOS isn't without its flaws either. We've officially entered the annoying small things with macOS section of the video. Let's kick off with one weird issue that I discovered, and it has to do with mouse scrolling. By default, if you use an external mouse, such as this Logitech, the scroll will be reversed, meaning up will go down and down will go up. Well, if you go to the system settings, you can actually disable something called natural scrolling, which will get rid of this issue. Cool. However, this setting also affects the trackpad, which is annoying because maybe you're like me who likes to have it so when you go up on a trackpad, the window scrolls downwards and vice versa. So since natural scrolling setting affects all devices, meaning the touchpad and whichever external mouse you're using, you're essentially stuck to choosing one or another scrolling mode. And if you want to fix this, you need a third-party app called Scroll Reverser, which lets you choose which device you want to have reverse scrolling on. Again, all in all, it's a minor issue, but it's annoying nonetheless. Another annoying thing is window management. Yes, macOS Sequoia did finally add multi-window management features. However, it's still not great. As someone who has a vertical monitor, I like to have two browser windows on top of another, and this window configuration isn't easily replicated with a mouse with snapping unless you specifically click on this green full screen button and select the specific window arrangement for both tabs. I'm sure, again, there are probably third-party apps like Rectangle or Magnet that, fix it, but it's 2025 and macOS should have better multi-window management by default. One other thing that macOS lacks is good customization. There is dark mode, thankfully, and you can also customize your accent color for your windows, but that's about it. Take the dock for instance. You can customize its size, but not the transparency level or its color or anything. Same goes with the top menu bar. Sure, most users probably don't mess around changing their OS too much, but more customization would be really greatly appreciated. Also, while MacBooks come with great speakers, macOS doesn't come with a great volume mixer or one at all. On Windows, it's super easy to adjust your audio from whichever audio source it's coming from. However, on macOS, I can say switch from AirPods to MacBook speakers as my, a source for audio that actually plays the audio, the device, but I can't really adjust individual audio source volume without ding 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 ding, you've guessed it, a third-party app. But let's not forget the final boss of using macOS, gaming. Look, as I've gotten older, I thought my passion for video games would just go away and I would be consumed by adult things like doing my taxes and other responsibilities. But here I am in my late 20s playing car football or racing my friend in Crash Team Racing, as well as reliving awesome battles from DBZ in Sparking Zero. Look, all I'm saying is that gaming is as huge as ever nowadays, and if you're going to be buying, just one machine or only have a budget for just one computer, you really need to think twice before buying a Mac if gaming is something that you do. It's not that gaming on a Mac is impossible, however, games support is a mixed bag. Some games do run natively on a Mac, while others do need a Windows translation layer like Wine or Parallels to work properly, which really sucks because that really kills your performance that you could otherwise be getting with these Apple M chips. Nevertheless, some games still don't work no matter what you do, and gaming just remains an Achilles heel for Apple Macs, and something like a Windows gaming laptop will be a much better choice for a person who plays a lot of games. I mean, that's not much of a surprise there. As we're moving on to the conclusion of this video, let me say that this gaming issue really frustrates me because, listen, overall, I really enjoyed using an Apple Mac. Yes, some things are annoying, like the aforementioned multi-window controls or other issues that are fixed mostly by, third-party apps, which makes them even more infuriating. But overall, as a package and everything, I'm really, really envious of people who don't play games and, on their laptop and can really daily drive macOS without feeling like they're losing something. Well, besides, heavily shrinking their wallet. My experience with Macs these past 4 years has been on the positive side. I'm super impressed by the hardware. The M chips from Apple are excellent in their performance, especially in apps that are natively supported, as well as generally having that, amazing battery life. The software experience is also good, not great, but good, and I think that any Windows user would feel right at home after using, this software Store for a couple of days. And honestly, macOS was a nice refresher to me as a Windows user, and quite frankly, I don't hate Macs at all. That being said, I used to absolutely despise and look down on iPhone users, but not anymore. Go watch this video next where I talk about why, as an Android user, I no longer hate iPhones. I'll see you in that video, and take care for now.